Three stories about technology pretending to be human. Two actually happened, one is completely made up. The catch? They're all written in the same way, so you just can't go by how it sounds. You have to go by how it feels. Let's go.
Welcome back to Too Real. I'm Michael, and Julianne is here with me. Two truths and a lie. Three stories. Two actually happened, one is completely made up. Your job is to figure out which one is made up.
This week, every story is about the same thing: a system, an AI, a voice, an algorithm pretending to be human, making a decision, taking your information, and you never knowing if you already talked to a person. And in every case, the question isn't just real or fake. The question is, when you think you're talking to a human, but you're actually talking to a machine and something critical goes wrong, who's actually responsible?
No right answers, just got reactions. Let's get into it. If you're new, subscribe now. We do this every Monday. Two real, two truths, and one lie.
Perfect. Let's get into this first one, but I'm going to put into the comments here is real or fake. So as we go through, remember to keep in mind if you think that is real or fake as we go through each story. Let's go to story one. Am I the asshole for being angry that I thought I booked with a human, but it was a cloned voice instead? I need to know if I'm overreacting or if this is actually unforgivable. My mother in law uses a wheelchair. She's been using one for 8 years. When we travel, we need specific accommodations: wheelchair accessibility, accessible bathrooms, grab bars installed, doorways that are wider, accessible parking nearby. All of that. It's not a preference, it's the difference between her being able to use the room and being stuck. So when I booked a family trip to a hotel chain I'd used before, I didn't use the website, I didn't use their chatbot, I called the hotel directly. I specifically requested to speak to someone who could take notes, confirm everything verbally, and make sure the accessibility requests were actually logged into the reservation. A woman answered. She said her name was Jasmine. I remembered this specifically because my granddaughter has the same name. She was professional, warm, helpful. She asked detailed questions about what we needed. I told her wheelchair accessible room or suite, sorry, 2 rooms if possible, grab bars, accessible shower, firm bed, accessible parking. She took the notes and confirmed the features in the suites. I could hear her typing. She said, I have everything here noted on your reservation. All your accessibility needs are documented. You're all set. We were ready to go. Fast forward to arrival day. We pull up to the hotel. We get to the check-in desk. I give the clerk our name, reservation number, and start to confirm that they have seen the reservation requests and that we needed the wheelchair accessible suite. She pulls it up. Her face goes blank. She says, I don't see any accessibility requests noted here at all. I feel my stomach drop. I say, that's impossible. I called and spoke to Jasmine. She took my information. She said everything was noted. The clerk nodded and says, oh, Jasmine, yeah, she's our AI voice system. All our incoming reservations go through her. She's designed to take down booking information and sound natural. But the system has been having issues. Sometimes the notes don't transfer from the AI call to the actual reservation database. I'm standing there with my mother-in-law in her wheelchair, my husband, our luggage, and I just found out I didn't speak to a human. I spoke to an AI voice clone, and an AI that sounded like a woman named Jasmine, and an AI that told me everything was noted when it clearly wasn't. The hotel staff were apologetic. They immediately looked for an accessible room. We got lucky. The wheelchair accessible suite was still available. I don't even want to talk about what would have happened if it wasn't. But here's what kills me. I specifically called instead of using the website or online chatbot because I wanted to talk to a human. I wanted verbal confirmation. I wanted accountability. I wanted someone to promise me that these requests would be taken seriously. And instead, I got an AI designed to sound exactly like a human. It succeeded. It was completely convinced I was talking to a real person named Jasmine. I felt reassured, and that reassurance was based on a lie. So, am I the asshole for being angry? For feeling like I was deliberately deceived by technology that was designed to make me think I was talking to a real person?
This sounds like my day yesterday.
Yeah.
Because I feel bad for her, but my situation was I called because I didn't want to book it on the website. I called, spoke to an AI chatbot. Then I believe I was transferred to a human, may not have been transferred to a human, booked for something specific. We show up and they did not. It was a restaurant. It was a restaurant appointment. And we, as soon as we got there, we're like, yeah, I don't think they took any of our notes. So this does happen.
Well, and it's way worse in a situation like this. Like in this situation where every hotel only has so many accessible suites, right? Usually a hotel, most suites will be probably big enough to be accessible, but whether they're available on the main floor and whether they have like those extra little things, they might not have them in every unit, right? And so then, and especially whatever she needs, like
Yeah.
that's main, like,
Well, in our situation yesterday, we clarified what we were there for, and then they said, "Oh, here's the menu," and then like they figured it out, but reliance on AI to take notes, and those notes aren't being passed to a system, is leading to un not a consistent consumer expectation, right?
well,
Because typically
well,
that would have been a real human making a note, and those notes would have been recorded.
exactly. We come from a generation. We're going to have a whole new generation that doesn't have the experience we have. So they're not even going to probably even bother because we come from a generation that you spoke to a person, you could have notes in the system and then 9 out of 10 times like yeah, error happens, something might get missed, but people would follow the notes that were verbally communicated in a system, right? Like that was a norm. And if you talked to somebody and got verbal confirmation, you knew it was the truth. Now we're in a scenario where we had the story of the chatbot giving the wrong information and completely confidently the wrong documented process for refunds, right? Then you have talking to somebody on the phone that sounds like a real person but isn't. It's kind of like it's weird because they want you to have this illusion that you're talking to somebody real to give you that reassurance. And the reason the people are calling is to avoid the situation when they show up. Like the awkwardness of going, okay, I don't see what I booked for here, right? Or,
Mhm.
like having that scenario of not having that room available. So there's a reason they're taking these extra steps or due diligence is just to make it easier, but it's not actually making anything easier, right?
Because I know for my business, I have an AI answering system, and every message I get, the details are in that message. So me as a human, I am seeing the special requests. So it's not that, and for us to have this story on this show, and then to have this experience this week with a similar system, but it's like it's not that challenging. There's no like, it's kind of weird.
Well, okay,
Honestly.
Mike, it's like, okay, remember the clerk goes, oh yeah, Jasmine's are AI, and that they've been having issues with information not passing on, and no one's fixing it. And that's like that's not even surprising me. Of course, they know there's an
Well,
issue. No one's
Julie,
really
with
fixing it.
technology, maybe it can't be fixed in this situation. Anyway,
So literally, there's no point in like giving any
it's
type.
because they've literally laid off the person answering the phone 24/7 as cost savings and fired up something that's answering the phone and get like it's weird. The booking got made, but there's no details. Anyway,
Well, we know, okay, with web forms, if something's not set up
My
right,
my
it
my
might.
my, my reservation got made, but the detail wasn't there for the lunch menu pricing. Like whatever. Like oh, it's so terrible. It's so
It is
terrible.
terrible, but we've had those experiences where I'm like, well, I've put in notes booking online, and then you go there and they're like, oh, we don't see any notes. And we've had that so many times. So is that even surprising? No, it's not, right? Because like we already have this fundamental problem before AI of websites not even being able to do the basic job that they're supposed to do without even adding the AI
Yeah,
layer.
literally customers asking like I've got website clients this week, and I'm like going to my website people. I'm like, hey, these people got issues, and I just want you to be aware that they have issues. Are you okay with their issues? Because they've already been sold a website, which obviously does not work. And we can fix it for them, but you're gonna have to have that conversation with them. That
Exactly,
their
exactly.
forms haven't worked for a year. How much business did they lose out because the form wasn't actually sending a copy to the business owner that there was somebody on the website?
That somebody was interested. Exactly, exactly. So you have this thinking you've got the process, you've got a funnel here. So if somebody goes on your website and they email you, you're going to get notified. Yet it's been broken for a year, 2 years, maybe the entire time you've had the website. And how many clients have you missed, right? And that is a normal thing we see. So it's like one of these things where I know we have the tech background, but it always surprises me because I wonder, again, people need to take a little bit more responsibility. Like, I could get somebody to hire them to build your website to help you with whatever it is. However, you still hired them, meaning you have to check on the quality of what they even produced. And really, probably you need to go through your own website they build and try every page. And I get people don't want to do that. They want to trust, oh, it's done and it's done. But my own experience, as we've talked about, I will find the problem very quickly because my astrology brings that up. But it's interesting, is let's round this back. What is your verdict? Is she an asshole for still
Oh, she's
being
not. Like she, how is she the asshole in this situation? She can't be. That hotel chain with the lazy implementation of their AI, because they got yeah, they fixed it. But what if they didn't fix it? Like it would have just been.
well, exactly, or couldn't, or whatever, right? Like, what an inconvenience. And then you're hunting for an accessible room that, how many hotels are there even there, and how far would they have to travel, et cetera, right? Well, the verdict was overall that, not, of course, not the asshole. You made a deliberate choice to call a human instead of using the digital systems. You weren't given that human. You were essentially lied to by an AI designed to sound like a human, and a critically accessibility information was lost in the result. So, you do have every right to be an asshole. There was some comments like AI assisted bookings happens everywhere now, so you can't even expect a phone call to be with a human. The hotel fixed the issue. That's great. Like a little bit like, I guess you're lucky they were able to fix it, right? The hotel, though, shouldn't have deployed an AI voice clone to handle accessibility reservations without explicitly telling people it's an AI, and you should have gotten a written confirmation email, not just assuming the verbal promise. So I guess that's the whole thing, is like we need to get, after every interaction, an email summarizing up that interaction and if it was. But then I guess
And
AI
that
can do that, but it still doesn't guarantee
you
the
still
AI
you still need a you
was
still
not
need a
in there.
human verify. You still, as I tell in our YouTube class, you can have AI is a tool. It can
Mhm.
make things happen a lot quicker for you, especially creative stuff, especially website, whatever. But you still have to do the quality control to confirm you're happy with the output. So in my case with my AI answering system, whether or not people like it or not, some of my customers love it and they talk to it for hours. I get an email copy and then I phone that person to say, hey, I just want to confirm these details. And they're like, oh, hey, that's a great hire you made. I'm like, it's AI. No, it's not AI. I'm like, it's AI. Anyway, that's how good it is. But I'm just like, I'm visually confirming the details because I want to make sure, because people booked appointments using it. And I'm like, great. That's the whole point of it is I'm traveling. I'm on the phone with somebody else. I want my phone to be available 24/7 for somebody to call because we deal with different customers in different countries. Different. Mine also answers in Spanish. So like I've given the accessibility to you, the end user, and I'm confirming when I missed a call, who called, what they need, and they're actually being taken
Well,
care of.
what you're
So
really saying is this hotel chain ideally should have a process of AI assessment process where the communication that with the AI over phone is then digitalized into a conversation, which is given to a human to review, to inspect that the AI did its job. But the reality is they're cutting out the human because they want to save costs, and so we're
But then,
missing the gap.
but what we're gonna see is businesses losing money
Yeah.
because they AI'd their inbound top of funnel and they didn't actually follow up. It's like somebody going to your website and your website not working and then they leave. You lose that customer without even having, you know, a phone number to call them back on, right?
Well, it comes back. Well, let's wrap this story up, but it
Yeah.
comes back to that same idea with me doing that AI training. I feel like a broken record, but I keep coming back to the one part where it's like whatever AI produces, you are responsible to validate what it produces. So if you have an AI answering the phone, you, the company, need to take responsibility of the phone transcripts and ensure that that conversation equals what the appropriate booking was, which means you cannot get rid of humans. Not at this point, because there still needs to be human interaction in this. But this is the laziness of corporations and them not even doing the basics of how to use AI properly. And so we are going to have problems when AI is not implemented properly, which means we still need human assessment and judgment through the processes. So that's really it. And the end result is the scariest part, that was the top comment, is the scariest part isn't that AI exists. It's the hotel knows that AI sometimes fails to transfer the notes. This is us talking about the responsibility to the actual system, and they just keep using it, and your mother-in-law got lucky
You
someone
know
else.
why? It's because they don't know how to turn it off. That's why.
Or they don't know how to get the
You
transcripts
know,
and
I've done tech support and Wi-Fi systems for hotels in the past, and it's always like nobody even knows what's going on. But as long as the employees are clocking in, taking money, and the cleaning service is cleaning those rooms every single day before they do, that's usually like the minimum.
so, well, the important jobs are done,
But
right?
remember,
This
like
stuff isn't.
remember, we've had experiences with hotels where you check in and they don't even tell you that they don't have power, right?
Oh,
So some of them don't even
clearly.
do some of them, the big chains don't even do the bare minimum because you think the bare minimum would be like, hey, thank you for checking in with us today. You're booked with this, but just to let you know, we haven't had power for 8 freaking hours, and we're going to be running out of generator power, which means the pool's not going to be heated. There's no air conditioning. The lights are going to be flickering your whole stay. They didn't do that for us, and that wasn't even booked through AI. That was just booked through online. So
That trauma of hotels. Let's move on to the next story. I
go
get it,
ahead.
Mike. But no, it is true. It is true, right? Like, bare minimum and you're paying for it. And it's frustration we've had our entire lives. But let's continue to our next story, okay? Am I the asshole for not hiding my age on my resume because I shouldn't have to, but now I can't get a job? People keep telling me I'm being stubborn. I think I'm being principled. I don't know anymore. I was a voice engineer for 20 years. I worked with some of the big national corporations. I have a very strong resume and portfolio, not to mention 20 plus years of extensive skills and experience. In April of 2025, I got laid off. The company said they were restructuring. I later found out they were moving my entire department to a cheaper labor market. So I started applying for jobs. I applied to dozens of positions. Senior role, mid-level role, consulting roles. I got nothing back. Zero interviews, not even rejections with feedback, just silence. I started to have my suspicion. I'm 58 years old. AI hiring systems are trained on data that shows companies prefer to hire younger candidates. They cost less, they stay longer. The algorithms learn this and they act on it. I found out this was happening, in fact, through a Business Insider investigation. The hiring software the hiring software that American companies have adopted to build to cut costs, not not find talent. It's to cut costs, not to really find talent. It flags age, buries experience, and discards applicants who don't match the keyword profile of a 28-year-old. So I did what you're not supposed to do. I removed dates from my resume. I removed graduation years. I removed anything that would tell the AI how old I was. I even tried a different resume format to see if I could trick the system into reading me as younger. It didn't work. Same silence, same zero interviews. But here's what they weren't saying. What companies are looking for in youth. We are we are in a period of reverse ageism. It is based on age, not skills, not experience, not 20 years I spent actually being good at my job. Youth. 11 months later, I found a job through a friend in my tennis team, a personal connection, not through the system, not through my resume and my skills, through someone who knew me and vouched for me. My job, I get paid less than half of my previous salary on top of that. I'm 58 years old. I'm working for half of what I was making before because an AI system decided I wasn't worth interviewing. But I keep thinking, how many other people are being filtered out of the same system right now? How many qualified candidates never get a chance because an algorithm decided they're too old, too experienced, too expensive, too job hoppy, too all those things we've already been talking about, right? So, am I the asshole for being angry that I had to hide my experience and ultimately take a job at half my salary, all because an AI system decided I wasn't worth talking to? Yeah.
This is, I'm not going to say I haven't heard of this before because I know we're going through a huge, huge, huge shifts, right? And you see companies laying off, and whether or not they're profitable or not, they're laying off generally the older demographics. We have friends who, have been in the job market for at least 2 to 3 years.
This story sounds like some of our friends, but they haven't had the success of finding a job yet.
No, so I'm surprised this person actually. But then again, when you go find a position, are you making what you're expecting to make based on your experience, right?
Oh,
Because
this
obviously she
person's
landed
making
something a lot. It doesn't even say whether or not it's in the same field. It just says that she used a personal connection to get a job, right? So
Well, and it's nothing like all I can think of is like how we even talked about this on the Saturday class about how the experience is being undervalued. How much value you add with all the years of experience, having the knowledge of how old systems work, seeing new systems, knowing these things adds value. But now
but
like the
yeah, but
system is now
the only way you can really exploit your value is really to be like self-employed contractor and know exactly what and go get what you're paid and what you're worth. That's really the
well,
only
because
way to.
what's going to end up happening? Because you bring up a perfect point. Because what's going to end up happening? They only hire the less experienced people. They're going to hit problems that they're going to have to now go and hire you as a more expensive contractor to come in and fix because the younger people don't have that experience and know-how. That is what will happen. Is at some point they're going to have to reach out and find the people that their AI hiring system said, no, we don't want these people. They don't fit this little box of
Well,
cheapness,
but,
right?
but 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 it may also, well, it's like this is the same thing my father's been told because retired, and then he went to another job, and then he's retired again, and then he's had invites to go back to the same job. And it realistically just comes down to, when you're a salaried employee, there's your salary, but there's your benefits and your healthcare benefits. And if the cost of those, like the reason they're not hiring you or they're laying you off is because it's not the salary, it's the cost of those benefits that are added to the salary. If you get to that certain age and the cost of the premiums of like the health benefits goes up, that's their reason to not hire you or get rid of you, is because you're not fitting that much. You're not the same cost. It's not the same cost as the 20 or 30-year-olds when
Exactly,
you're
where they can start them at a cheaper wage, so they can save salary because they can start them at a cheaper wage, and they're cheaper to insure and all those other things. Exactly. Well, okay, on this story, what else is really dystopian, but it matches with last week. It's about that database and holding a score against you for that 330 days. That was the word on the street. I don't know how long the score is actually held for, but the AI systems are all talking to each other. They're scoring your resume, and it's attached to your name. So even if you do remove dates, even if you do edit your resume, you are already targeted with that previous score. That's why, like, her even trying to change her, like, remove the dates didn't move the mark. I would guarantee that, because literally this is another social credit system being built behind the scenes.
Well, and you know what? All they have to really do is search you on social media to say, hey, this person looks of a certain age, and hey, what they have on their resume doesn't match what they like. They're really all
Well,
going.
they're not even, that's not even getting to a human doing that. The
No,
AI
no,
is
no.
already blocked them.
I didn't say it was a human. It's not that challenging for AI to be trained to look at this, and see if it's consistent. And how old do you think this person is?
Well,
Deny.
and again, I'm going to say there's all these connections. If it was still like the same resume format, was it from the same IP address? The name is the same. It's going to find the phone number is the same. The email is the same. So it's going to track everything, that unless you're literally giving it completely different everything, it's still going to tie that when you do those changes to that same profile. That's the point. The point is it's
Yeah,
built a profile on you in the back end that even if you edit it, it's already put a score. And so you can't even trick it by uploading or improving your resume, where that used to be a possibility. If you had a
so
really bad resume that you gave away or whatever, you could fix it, go to a resume place, and then go and reapply to jobs or to different jobs. But you didn't have this mystery thing that was holding behind you that you don't even know. You don't know what that score is. You don't have that. That's a whole different reality
I
than we
know.
grew up
But
in.
the question for this story was literally, am I the asshole for not hiding my age on my resume screen and then resubmitting it with the age removed?
Well, I guess now there's no point. Now there's no point. You did it once, you messed
Um,
up giving
sh-
it the information.
I don't think she's the asshole in either of her resume applications, because she's literally applying for a job, and from somebody, and like from my experience, I've not had a salaried position in 20 years, so I don't even know what that process. I'm not saying my resume is not out there, because people ask me for my resume, and I'm like, hey, like, I've been doing the same thing for 20 years,
Yeah.
so I'm not like I'm my own employee, because and so
Well, Mike,
I'm not hiding my age. I'm not
back
hiding
in
my
the
age.
day, there's nothing she did wrong. Back in the day, you would refine, okay, and you're like, okay, if they're basing it on age, let me just test one with my name and put it in without my dates. That was never ever wrong. It is now wrong, because now we have this digital a digital force in the background. Like, it is digital ID already happening. Like, this whole thing about even finding a job is literally this digital credit score going on that is affecting people's daily lives now.
I was gonna say, I'm like, just thinking about this is like, wait a minute. I used to have a whole bunch of customers that were headhunters they hired for corporate, and I was like, oh man, I wonder how heavily they've been affected by this stuff, because I haven't heard from them in a while. So I'm just
Well,
like,
they're probably not. They're probably not,
it's affecting
unless
everybody's business.
Well, unless the corporation is like, these AI systems suck and they're realizing it and they're like, I need a really good headhunter. I'm sure there's some that are realizing these AI systems are shit, right? And they're losing good people. So I'm sure there's some that are smart enough, but the majority are trying to cut costs. And by cutting costs, it's actually going to cost them more. And we're also at the same time through going and being, looking for a job, you're unwittingly participating in a social credit system in a job market sense, right? Like you didn't even know that applying for these jobs online, you're building this profile that AI has already put a number to and your value to how valuable you are to these corporations. And you don't get to see it. This comes back up to that same thing we talked about. You don't get to see it. You don't get to know it. And there's not a second chance until it clears your resume from the system, which I could not confirm completely, but the word on the street was 330 days. So if it is 330 days, is it from the last time you did a resume and applied from a job, or last time you uploaded a resume, or what is that 330 days
And
from?
you're just assuming that they're deleting. I'm like, how?
And are they deleting it? Exactly. And that was what I was just going to say. So this bothers me immensely. It's a reverse ageism, which is counterproductive, which is we have also seen people in our lives have this very similar experience. And then of course we're getting older. So and we both have not been employees for most of our life, but what if we needed to get a job where we're never going to get a job because we now have age against us on top of the bias on this platform.
Yeah.
So, anyways, as I go, because obviously this bothers me a lot, let's make the verdict. Obviously, I don't think they're an asshole. You should not have to. Like, this was something that should never have been a problem. I don't think she is, but now we now need to learn how to deal with these systems.
Yeah. And or be cognizant they're out there, and if you don't want to deal with them, you literally have to do a lot of work and build your life. Not be aware of where they are, so you can limit your exposure. I'll just leave it like that.
Limit having to appease the AI algorithm gods, right? Like that's essentially that's also why we talk about visibility is each AI algorithm is going to support certain things. So if you just show up everywhere, statistically it's going to work to your benefit
Well,
because
and
then
then
you're
yeah, exactly, measure your results, right?
measure
Because
which AI algorithms hate you less than others,
it's,
right?
it's like live streaming. What day and time works best for each show? Because you're like, oh wow, there's like 28 people watching or whatever the number is. You're like, oh,
Exactly, exactly.
I got viewers today, but that's because I'm consistently showing up every single week at the same time.
Well, what I am learning before we go through verdicts, but I'm going to say my takeaway in learning is if I have to apply for a job, before you put any resume out there, be extremely cognitive, have your resume reviewed by multiple freaking people. If like we are now knowing age is a problem, you got to make sure you know what the algorithms are looking for. So do you have to spend, I'm going to say, a lot of time researching before you ever put a resume into one system because you do not want that resume to haunt you. And that is the end learning is your resume may haunt you. So you got to now be really diligent about what you're putting out there on that platform. But the verdict overall was, of course, not the asshole. An AI system was programmed to discriminate against you based on age. You did everything right. You have 20 years of skills. The system failed you, not the other way around. You should be angry. And then, of course, there was some of the other comments. The hiring software is discriminatory, and that is real. The fact that you took a job half your salary through personal connections instead of demanding better compensation shows that you still don't that you don't value yourself. But I guess how are you going to fight, right? Like that's kind of
Oh
a problem.
no, it's not that you
How are
don't
you going to
value
fight?
yourself. It's that you are, however, it was like 11 months or whatever. Like you're at that point where you're like, okay, I'm desperate. I need a job while I go look for
Exactly. Talking to
while you go look for
anybody.
something better. Because even as a self-employed person, not every customer that comes through is great, and some are like, hey, I have this fixed budget. I'm like, I wouldn't even, that's less than what I would charge for 1 hour, but I want a good review, I want a good experience, and you were attracted to me. Like, I'm going to give you a solution. I'm going to give you a win. I'm going to give you a solution. And just because I
You
need,
want the exchange. You want the exchange.
and you also need that, like, human to human goodwill, an exchange, and for good word of mouth. I know the AIs don't care about word of mouth. They don't care that we're bashing them, but humans do care.
Well, exactly. But but we're at this point where it's like there is going to be a rejection of it because this is like so insane. But the top comment, which is very valid. This is the part that should terrify every person over 40. There's no way to know if you're being rejected because you're not qualified or because the algorithm decided you're too expensive, too old, too risky to interview, right? Like that. It's reverse ageism. Back in the day, we had ageism where you were pretty much the one released because you were the newest and the youngest, or you were hired in a batch, but you were the youngest. So you had ageism. So even though your numbers were better than everybody else, you were the youngest, so you're removed. Now we're coming to a point where now we're too old and we have too much experience, and everything is about cutting costs. And then it's like, holy crap. Nonetheless, that is story number 2. So keep that in mind. Is this real or fake? And I'm sure we could go on about it for a lot longer, but let's continue because we've got another story. Because wait, there's more.
Oh.
Let's jump to our next story. Story number 3. Am I the asshole for wanting to get my daughter out of an AI system that can flag her as at risk based on sleep data? I need someone to tell me I'm not being paranoid. My daughter is 9 years old, happy, healthy, good student, close relationship with us. When we started her at a new public school this fall, I filled out the standard health and wellness forms. Nothing unusual. She goes to school, gets good grades, comes home happy. When I got a letter from the school about a new student wellness monitoring program, apparently the government just updated guidance for schools to use AI systems to monitor students for signs of distress and concerning behavior. The AI is supposed to flag kids who might need mental health support. That sounded reasonable until I read the details. The system doesn't just look at what happens at school, it integrates data from wearables, sleep trackers, fitness monitors, anything connected to the child's data profile. It's looking for patterns that indicate possible distress, concerning behavior, or signs of risk to self or others. The guidance specifically says the AI needs to protect against manipulation, meaning it's designed to catch kids who might be hiding something, not just kids who are openly struggling. My daughter wears a fitness tracker. Nothing crazy. I got it so she could track her steps and see her activity. But that data is now part of her school wellness profile. The school has access to when she sleeps, how long she sleeps, her heart rate variability, her activity levels. I called the school and asked if I could opt out. They said the system is school wide, and opting out might flag her as non cooperative with wellness checks, which itself could be a trigger and an alert. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. My 9-year-old sleep data is being analyzed by an AI looking for signs of distress. The AI is designed to catch things she might be hiding, and opting out of itself is suspicious. My husband thinks I'm overreacting. He says the AI is designed to help the kids, not hurt them. But I keep thinking, what if the AI flags her for something normal? What if she goes through a normal growth phase and the system decides that's a risk indicator? I don't trust that the AI can tell the difference between a kid who's struggling and a kid who's just being a 9-year-old. And I definitely don't trust that once she's flagged by the system, there's any transparency about what triggered it or how to dispute it. So, am I the asshole for being this uncomfortable with my child's sleep data being analyzed by an AI looking for signs of hidden distress? I'm going to say bravo to that parent, because that parent's sitting there going, red flags, red flags, red flags. What's up with the dude?
The lazy. That's up to the dude. I sleep at the wheel. That's what that was. That's what's up with that guy. Oh, it's just so creepy. It's so creepy, but it's no like it's creepy.
Well, at what point, like, is the state taking over childcare, right? The parents losing rights, because that's exactly like her concerns are completely valid. Like, straight up, you don't know what's going to trigger the system. What is the AI going to read as abnormal and normal? We know how well AI works in assessing things from all those other stories we've talked about. What if something happens in their home life that does, like a grandparent passes away and that causes the child distress, and then suddenly there's CPS, Child Protective Services, there taking your kid because your kid's under distress because there's a family thing? Like, that's how much you can't even trust it.
Yeah, it's well. I think we had a similar story like this where for lower insurance rates or whatever, somebody was wearing a tracker and then they were denied stuff in the future. It's like, but you were like, I was, whatever. It's just like signals can be manipulated, and not all signals mean the same thing. And really, AI is kind of like, as I said, it's a tool for doing some cool stuff, and other things it does is a complete disaster.
Well, okay, if we even think, and you're very, very correct, because if we think about, like, even just a lie detector test, they say there is an error rate. Like, we've never had a piece of technology that is 100% accurate 100% of the time. You know what I mean? So then we're going to give this type of power. The state is going to go in there giving AI that it probably didn't even train well, because it doesn't seem to like to do the due diligence of taking
And
the
then,
information
and
and then
then I'm
having
like, hey,
someone look at it.
then I'm thinking, I'm like, is this just a like sleep tracker? Is it a GPS thing? Like, if the government is offering you something at no cost because they want to collect data, well, what is the other? Like, there's all these like the more red flags going off in my mind about a situation like this. So
It's terrifying. I would say if you could homeschool, this is your flag to homeschool, but you'd probably already be red flagged because you called about, withdrawing, and then you homeschool. I'm assuming wherever this is, you can't homeschool. Like, that seems like
I mean,
such an. I assume where this happens, there's no homeschooling, because if there's homeschooling, people are
and
fleeing.
like this just adds to it where it's like we know when you're sleeping because we're tracking when you're sleeping,
Yeah,
and
you're a
we're gonna
bad
say
parent.
you're a bad parent because you let your kid watch that movie late and let it then sleep. So the whole reason their grades suck is because of you. So we're gonna remove your children from your home because we know what their sleep schedule is.
Exactly. Yet. You put them to bed. You went to bed. They got up and watched the TV show and didn't, or they got up and were talking on the phone or doing something. And you were sleeping, and that's why they didn't sleep, but it was your fault, right? Because, kids don't ever just do stuff. They always listen, and they always do what the parent tells them completely, because they're little robots.
No, just another.
No, I don't comment on that. No,
No,
this is
no,
this
no.
is terrifying. This is
I think
terrifying.
I think she's fully valid. She's fully
I
valid
agree. Definitely not the asshole. I feel like her spouse is kind of the a-hole, I'm gonna say, because
well,
that
that's
is
that's just one of those personalities, like the status quo. The status quo. I'm not going to ruffle any feathers. Status quo. Status quo.
just
You're gonna
don't
run it.
start something. I don't
You're
want
gonna
people
you're
to
gonna
talk
run
about
into
it.
those people all over the place. I just don't question anything, and you're like, but look, it's on fire. No, it's fine. You're like, it's just whatever.
Exactly. No, it's fine. It's fine.
It's like that. It's supposed to be. Oh, I know what I'm not going to support in the future.
I can't breathe, but it is fine. It's fine. My skin is burning, but it is fine. So the verdict, though, of course,
Don't
majority.
even don't even make a joke like that, because it wasn't there like shampoo that was recalled because it gave you a burning scalp or whatever, and I'm like, nothing is tested realistically before it is offered to humans.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But okay, the verdict overall was not the asshole, of course, which we would hope. We would hope people are like that. And it is schools monitoring children's sleep data through wearables without explicit opt in, looking for hidden signs of distress, is surveillance masquerading as care. You have every right to be uncomfortable. Some of the other comments is the school's intent is good. Is it really though? But the execution is invasive for sure and lacks transparency. And you should be pushing the school for clear policies about the data access, algorithm transparency, and the actual opt out options instead of just being anxious about it. And I guess, if you can do something, but what the problem is, if you start petitioning against things, we hear stories where you end up being targeted because, God forbid, you don't like that plan, then they start, you just get this arrow on it. And so that's where, when you look at her spouse kind of telling her to not worry about it, well, there is some validity, because if you talk too loud, you start to get targeted, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the top comments, here's what scares me. In 10 years, every child will have a permanent algorithmic record from the age 5 onwards. Schools will have sleep data, mood data, behavioral data, all fed into an AI system. Nobody can audit, and parents won't even know what triggered a flag.
That's why I said, what have I said? I just want to live in the woods.
Well, I do too, but then we need to like find a wood where we can live all year. Not everything's gonna kill us, and that we can
Yeah,
grow things.
true enough. Just because we grew up without all this stuff, and then you see the failed implementations of so many different systems. Anyway,
Yes.
so I'm going to move on because I know I'm going to wrap this up. So, final guess: 3 stories. One is completely made up. So, a reminder: story 1. I thought I booked with a human, but it was a voice cloned AI, and it almost cost my family our accessible room. Story number 2. I'm 58 years old. I got laid off, applied to dozens of jobs, got 0 interviews because an AI system filters out age. And story 3. My kid's school is now monitoring her sleep data through an AI looking for signs of hidden distress. Lock it in. If you're new, subscribe now. We do this every Monday.
So what is your guess before we go into that?
Which one's the lie?
Which
I'm
one is
gonna
the
say 3 because I think that's super creepy, but I think they're all true, but I think 3's a lie.
You think they're all true? The 3's a lie? Okay.
Because I'm like, because number 1, I've already dealt with it. Number 2, not surprising because we know friends in this situation. I haven't seen a school handing out sleep monitors yet, but guess what? My child's not in school, so I can't even comment on that situation.
Okay, well, do the drum roll because I'm going to announce
Drum
it.
roll.
And the reveal. Story 1 is actually the lie.
Wow. Okay.
That was one I made up, actually inspired by your situation. That inspired my fake story.
Okay, because I'm like, I've already had this happen to me, so this is why.
So exactly, your story with the AI and us having that situation was my inspiration for this story. I could not confirm it. I actually don't doubt that this possibly could have happened. This is, as we've talked about many times, to note, some of these stories might have actually happened to an individual. It's just not reported and I couldn't find it online. This was inspired by my husband's experience. So that's why it's so believable, is because clearly we are now using AI. I know people have complained about calling hotels, wanting to confirm information at hotels, but can't because there's what
literally confirmed. I'm like, is this a lunch menu? It is a lunch menu. I'm like, perfect. What? Like literally confirming the details. But I was like, because I found their website too complicated and I couldn't confirm I was booking a lunch.
Well, and that, what's funny, the story I had heard before was somebody wanting to confirm there was a pool at a hotel, and that was what really triggered. So it was funny because that was a story I came across where she was complaining that it took her like 4 or 5 minutes to get it to immediately finally admit it was AI and could not walk and tell her if the pool was physically open or not. She wanted visual confirmation that it was open, and it was just this weird conversation, right? So that was also part of it, is that this person had that conversation, so we know AI is answering the phones for the hotels. And then with your experience where you left them this information and it's just not saved, it's not unbelievable that this happened.
And you know why I knew that it was an AI that answered for a restaurant?
How did you know?
because it was in too good of a mood. It was very perky. And I was like, I don't think this is a human because it's too perfect.
Exactly. Well, and then okay, so story 1 was technically, technically a lie, but the technology can do it. The hotel systems are integrating it. You had that own experience of it not taking the notes and it wasn't even noted, right? So that's why this is so believable. But when we go to story 2, which is completely real, we had her name was Michelle Keller. She's a voice engineer of 20 years of experience. She was laid off in April of 2025 after applying for dozens of interviews or jobs, got no interviews, and was the one that eventually got a job through the grapevine of asking and just saying, does anybody have a job that I can work, right? And Business Insider covered her story. So this
Okay.
just justifies again what we talked about this credit score related to your resume, right? And then story 3, which is also real. So this is actually the UK government just updated guidances for school using an AI system monitoring students for signs of distress. The system integrates wearable data, sleep trackers, fitness monitors, and the AI is designed to catch kids who might be hiding something. And parents can't opt out without triggering a flag. This is an actual policy that is effective now and affecting the kids there. So it's real.
All right. That's
If
scary.
there has
They're all
ever been a more of a clear sign of watching what is going on in your local, if your kids are still in public schools, know what is coming down the vine.
100%.
Because we've also seen the pattern that where something shows up somewhere, which we talked about in Honestly Though our show as well, it'll show up everywhere else within this matter of time. So when you see it somewhere else, it's not the point of learning these things is not to be like, oh, it can never. Do not live in that denial that it could never happen to yourself. If you see it happen in any other supposed first world country, any other country, it can happen in your own country.
Well, and typically the only reason you hear about it is because some process was not implemented or broke down or got caught, and that's why there's a little bit of a highlight on the news, maybe briefly on news. Is they're like, oh, they're just document, and you're like, okay, well, if this is happening in this particular country, it's likely happening in your backyard.
And you
It
don't
just
know it. You don't know
there was
that
just an
you're
issue
talking
with
about.
it, and they got caught, and it got media spin, right? But
Well,
not everything that's pushed out
how
gets media coverage.
how I found this story was actually on Facebook, and somebody had posted the story and posted the picture, and then I did the research and it was legit. So it was them sharing that what was happening, right? And so you're going to be a target if you opt out, and you're completely targeted opting in, right? And so that is terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. And it's, the reality is not living in fear, because you can't live in fear because then you're just not going to move anywhere, but it's being aware that these things are really happening in this world, and it is really within, what is it, like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, let's put it there, within 6 degrees that this can be implemented and affecting your life. And if you have not learned anything since 2020, we are not on separate, independent islands. The world is interconnected. And when a bad policy that benefits the system is implemented, you are going to see that push go to everywhere else. So, on that beautiful dystopian note, why don't you continue, Mike?
All right. Do we have the okay? We've got the gold membership up. So before we go, we got two quick reminders for you. Our new gold membership. So join our free gold membership and get the July 2026 Divine Timing Guide, monthly updates, key astrology and numerology dates, and first access to everything we're building. So sign up for that at breathewithinyoga.com. We also have our Visibility University. If you're building a business, brand, channel, or message online for yourself or somebody else, because, we need to make content in order for our brand and our business and our products and services to be found, go visit IamYouTubeFamous.com and look at our packages and sign up for the gold membership.
So the gold
Or
membership is really the opening. And that's just going to get you the free where you're going to be told and notified when we go live, and you get some free bonuses and access to our community. So it's just the starting level. And then if you're serious, you can join us through the different tiers. So check that out. And to finish up, we're going to go over quickly our schedule. Just to remind everybody, we do go live 4 times a week. So you've joined us here for our beautiful Monday, 2 Real, 2 Truths, and a Lie. We hope you enjoyed it. Come back next Monday for our new stories, which I don't know, Mike, what's your opinion of that? Is it getting harder and harder, or is...
yeah, easier. Things will eventually get easier.
Oh, no, I mean guessing.
Guessing? Well,
Oh, you were totally
I'm just going based on my life experiences, right? So I'm just going, like, I know it's possible because people bring me stories, not just you, like other people say, hey, this was weird. And I'm like, I think this is what's really happening behind the scenes. Well, that's interesting. And it's like, it's just what I don't know. I'm just guessing. Some weeks I'm right, some weeks I'm wrong. I thought it'd be right this week, but obviously, no, I wasn't. So
is it getting harder? Because you told me to get harder ones.
yeah, I told you to get harder ones, and I thought I had a good guess this week, and I'm wrong. So it was easier for me to come up with a guess this week, and I'm wrong. So whatever, just
I
it's gonna be
tricked you.
hard. It's gonna be unless I'm guessing correct. It's gonna be challenge. I was confident in my answer today. I was
So
confident.
join us again and see if Mike can guess it correctly next week. 2 Real, 2 Truths and a Lie, and we'll continue going down the stories with that. We will be live again on Thursday for our Honestly Though. That is our news and astrology show. So we talk about the energies and what's going on, and then some of the stories and how they relate with everything else, and bringing it to have more clarity. And a lot of these things overlap with these 2 Real stories as well, which is amazing. Then we are live on Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, for our Visibility University, where we talk about what you need to be visible, so you can be everywhere, to show up, so you can get your message, your word around to everyone. We answer your questions and join us live there. And then, of course, you can join us every Sunday night at 7-Eleven for our weekly energy show, where we just go over the week and all the energies and how the alignment is going to go. So how that week looks, when there's times that things are going to flow easier, when there's times that it might be a little bit harder to go through the week. We give you some advice so you can prepare. So really what we do is we teach preparation and perspective. Not preparation H, preparation and perspective.
And throw in some jokes from time to time.
Exactly. Bad joke.
And really enjoy bringing you creepy stories about technology and how things are being presented, so we can get your feedback, right? Because these are just stories that we're finding are coming. These are stories we're finding. Leave a comment if you've got other technology stories like this, because it's interesting to just be aware of what's going on and what is and is not possible with AI and how it's affecting us.
Exactly.
Right? Because you may find a rude awakening at some point, saying, hey, I looked at this, I confirmed everything, and I didn't get the desired outcome. And you're like, wow, now
it's the epiphanies. We're all about the epiphanies. And then if you have an epiphany, share it with us, because we'd love to bring that and share perspective. Because when you're prepared and things are possible, it is substantially easier to go through an uncertain time when you at least are okay. We're in uncertain times, but being prepared that there is things and being aware these are realities can help you at least mentally prepare, so you're not caught off guard. So you don't go through that emotional trauma, or at least you can attempt to avoid it as much as possible. And you got just more stability through these uncertain times. So that is our episode 10 of 2 Real. Did you get this right? Did you get it right this week? Let us know in the comments and leave us a message. We love those. We'll comment back and maybe even highlight it in our next show. Any final comments before we leave for tonight?
No, just join us again, as you said, 4 times a week, and each show's a little bit different, but they all blend together. And just join us and leave comments and subscribe. Exactly. And hit that notification bell so you get the notification when we go live 4 times a week. Anyway,
Perfect. And we will see you next week. Have a great one.
have a great
Bye.
one.